I'm Judith Bunnell. I'm on the alumni board of the Kennedy School. And thank you for everyone who's attending. And also on the call, I think, is Kathy Hudson, who's actually president of the alumni board. And this event was really her brainchild. So I want to give Kathy a huge shout out. Duriya is also on the alumni board with me, and she'll be one of the speakers. And who else is on the, and Corinna Santangelo will be coming on board, and she is an alumni board member. I don't know who else I'm missing. I like, so let's get started. Just a reminder, this is an hour 15 presentation. What we're going to do, I'll introduce the coaches very briefly. They're wonderful. They are Kennedy School grads, and they have volunteered their time to be with you today. So big shout out to them. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to ask a few key questions for the coaches and let them jump in. That's going to go on for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then we're going to break you up into groups. And just so you're thinking about it, the categories are going to be, hang on, careers in government, careers in nonprofit organizations, careers in the private sector, nonprofit or corporate boards, and then managing career challenges. And each of the coaches have volunteered to lead a smaller group discussion in those career areas. So do think about what you're going to want to be in, and we'll get you set up. Let me, can you go to the next slide, Kristen? These are our coaches, and I don't, it looks like some of you all know each other, which is lovely. That is part, I think during this time, having community is huge. I'm Judith Bunnell. I'm in Washington, D.C. with Margot, and Ashley's not too far away. And it's honestly a gong show here. I know it's hard all over the US. And I actually had a sad conversation with someone who has relatives in the UK. But I think community is going to be important. And I think the Kennedy School, as alums, we're poised to create community. So I won't read, you all can read, but let me highlight a few things about these wonderful people. There's, as I said, there's longer bios for them. And they hopefully will provide you with their contact information at the end. And I'll encourage you to reach out if there's something they can do to help you. Don't overwhelm them. As I said, Ashley's north of Baltimore. So he's in, I won't say the DMV area, but you know the DMV. Yeah. And he does a lot with corporate leadership too. I mean, we've got him working on public sector, but he works a lot with corporations, which is a great thing in this climate. Duriya is on the alumni board with me. She's a very, very interesting person in many ways, but she has done private sector and public sector at the highest levels. So I think she is a good person to talk about transitions and what the difference is. And she's also active in a lot of nonprofit and private sector boards. So she will be talking about nonprofit boards and corporate boards, which for a lot of reasons are great to pay attention to. And she can explain that a little bit more. Melissa is in LA, right? I mean, you're our West Coast representative. Melissa, you see here in her bio, she's one of her specialties is bringing women into the sports industry, which I think is fascinating. And I'm sure she'll talk about that. But how do you get into space where maybe there's not many of you? But she's also done a lot in the nonprofit sector and is very knowledgeable and has really wide experience. Cynthia is, where are you located, Cynthia? I can't remember.
Brooklyn, New York, but New York.
That's right, New York. Okay, New York. So Cynthia's also had broad experience and does a lot of work with you can see that words workplace equity, but women in the workforce, has a variety of clients. I think you're going to really love her. And then Margot is a neighbor of mine. She lives in the district in the DMV. She has a practice in the DMV and obviously is, before you got on the call, I asked all the coaches how they were feeling, their clients are feeling, and Margot expressed that she's seeing a lot of angst, a lot of despair maybe, I don't think you use that word. Let me start. I'm going to start with questions now that you get to know our coaches. And I'm going to probably assign the questions to people, if that's okay. And we really don't have lots of time. We have 10 minutes for the first question, maybe 5 for the others. So let me just start. And challenges. This is a unique time. What are the biggest challenges that you're seeing with people managing their careers today? And it doesn't have to be careers in the last couple of weeks, because that's very dramatic. But what are you seeing people struggling with? And I'm going to call on Margot first for a few words, a couple sentences, Duriya, and then Melissa, if I could.
Got it. Thank you so much, Judith, and thanks so much for everybody. I want to touch on two things, and then I'm going to turn to my colleagues for their perspective. I mean, I clearly living in Washington, D.C. Is a unique situation. The new political era has ushered in a lot of uncertainty and insecurity. DC unemployment has risen 55% since January. And most everyone here is in transition, preparing for a transition or anticipating an eventual transition. And all of this is requesting an enormous amount of flexibility and adaptability and thinking about how to leverage your networks in new and strategic ways. Just one other thing that I'll say, though, which I think spans the time, is I think that the ways in which organizations and individuals work has really changed over the last 5 years. And I'll just mention remote work and hybrid work and the rise of the gig economy. And while there are benefits to more flexible ways of working, there are also challenges. So organizations and clients are constantly talking to me about work-life balance. Granted, things have turned upside down in the last month and a half, but regardless of where we are, it is an ongoing challenge that we are going to continue to navigate because we are humans first, multifaceted with lots of things going on in our lives, and people are feeling stressed and burned out as the boundaries between work and personal life become more blurred. I have some thoughts and solutions or some suggestions around that, but I'll turn it back to you, Judith, and to our colleagues.
Yeah, and then Duriya, if you want to pick up on that or pick up on kind of how you see the workforce changing. And again, just a couple of sentences.
Yeah, I think, just to add to what Margot was saying, the other context that everybody is navigating, stepping back to the national and global context, is that it's become a very tight job market, right? It's become a tight job market, but in addition to that, there's a lot of unpredictability about how many days are expected in the office. Is this really a remote job? Is it going to stay a remote job, etc. But I think the bright spot is that there was a time when you were expected to spend 30, 40 years in an industry, and that made you a veteran. But today, actually, cross-sectoral experience is really being valued. So thinking about how you navigate that and utilize that opportunity is a positive thing that I see. In general, I see people moving after a few years in one type of job and then going to another sector or another company entirely. And that's not looked upon as a strange thing or a gap in your resume. In fact, it's viewed as something that you bring to the table, that you have exposure and experience in different industries and can lead in different contexts and be strategic in different contexts. So that is a big positive that you can leverage as you think about what do you want to do next.
Thank you, Duriya. That's great. Yeah, the escalator, getting on the bottom of the escalator and going up is not the way the world works these days. Melissa, what are your thoughts? What are you seeing?
Yeah, one of the things that I admire about these younger generations is sort of embracing this idea of work-life balance and really pushing for setting boundaries with their employment, with their workplace. I'm Gen X, so I was told to do something and I did it and I sucked it up, and I think a lot of us on here were like that. And I feel like there's definitely something to be learned about that. I'm absolutely uncomfortable with it, and yet it's something that I internally want all the time, and I ask for, and I desire. And so I do think that part of moving forward is to look at what kind of boundaries we are putting in place so that we achieve that kind of balance, because when you find yourself with this incredible imbalance like we are right now, especially in uncertainty, you're not really doing well at home or at work. And so think about the people that you want to show up for and what boundaries you need to be put in place in order to protect those. I would also say that even if you're like, oh my gosh, I've already negotiated, I've been in this job, I can't, there's nothing I can change. That's not true. Nothing is permanent. Whatever we're feeling right now is absolutely going to change in the future. And so whether it's a performance review or, you know, a meeting that you request with your supervisor, there are options for you and conversations to be had. And like Margot said, work with someone on that conversation to help you build confidence, but know that things can change and that you can make that happen.
It's interesting. I hadn't thought of the generational differences in how people view work and how they, yeah, I think that's fascinating. Fascinating. Let's move to the next question, just so we keep things rolling. I know people are really interested in the breakout sessions. We're talking about pivoting now. I know I keep referring to DC, but that's my home community. But as Duriya said, all of us probably need to pivot to be successful and to show range and to be an attractive leader or employee. Let's talk about pivot strategies and how do you effectively position your skills and leadership ability so you can pivot across sectors? And I'm going to start with Ashley and then go back to Duriya because she, I know, has pivoted quite a few times.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that question, Judith. I'm really going to pull a thread that Duriya talked about, which is careers aren't ladders anymore. They're landscapes. And I think the most successful people are the ones who aren't climbing the highest, but they're moving with the wisdom of the terrain. So in my practice, what I've seen is most effective leaders aren't those who climb very rigidly, which is what I was told to do and taught to do. They are the folks who understand the value isn't in the title that they hold, but in the ability to translate their insight from one discipline to another. So you don't pivot by proving yourself, which is what, I grew up on. It's about pivoting by making yourself undeniable. So there's this question. The question isn't whether you belong in a new industry or a new sector. I see some of those questions coming in the chat. The question is what the industry has been missing until now. So part of it is our mindset shift. We're not switching industries or sectors. We're actually expanding our leadership portfolio. And I think the best transitions happen when we position ourselves not as an outsider trying to fit in, but as a force bringing a fresh perspective around ideas that people have been circling for a long time. So I have to think about it not as me starting over, but me showing up fuller. I think the most overlooked pivot strategy isn't networking, it's curiosity. And leaders who move across industries, who pivot, don't do so because they have all the answers. They do so because they ask the most powerful questions. So I think the minute you walk into a space with an open, hungry mind, you stop being an outsider and you become an explorer. And for many explorers, they are able to find doors where most people find walls or obstacles.
I love that image of not being an outsider trying to get in, but being an adventurer across different landscapes. That's great, Ashley. Duriya, you've made some changes. What are your thoughts?
I have had a slightly schizophrenic, non-linear career path, but now when I look back, I'm so grateful for how it unfolded. I think the number one question I would encourage you to ask is, where can I make an impact? And having conversations with people will help you figure out how. So to bring to life, let me talk about 3 or 4 career pivots I've made, and they were completely unexpected. If I had planned out my career, it would have been underwhelming. The fact that I went with and leaned into unexpected opportunities that felt right for the moment is what made the difference. So I started in international development and did research, came to Atlanta and said, I need to be local. I was a mom. I had 2 young kids, could not travel with a care or a Carter Center. had coffee with someone and he said, listen, come join city government. So there was a lot of analytical work I had done. And in the city at the time, they needed someone to quantify the infrastructure backlog. Okay, so that was a transferable skill. Done a lot of analysis. In one setting, it made a difference and it would be impactful in another setting. The other thing I would say is if for linear paths, yes, you can do LinkedIn and you can apply for jobs, and that is probably going to be a great strategy. But if you're pivoting, talking to people is critical. And coming in at a level that may be lateral or maybe one step below, as long as you can verify there's headroom in the organization, is important. Moved into the city at a pretty junior level. 5 years later, I was chief operating officer and I was running the city. So that's an example of where I went in low, but was able to climb up. As COO, I used a consulting firm to do pro bono research and work for us. I was a pro bono client for Bain & Company. They saw that I could think strategically and they said, hey, would you come work for us? So remember, you're interviewing every day of your life, right? Your opportunities will come from people who will see you in action. I said, sure, put me through the process. Joined Bain & Company, very unusual to make a leap from public sector to top 3 consulting firm. But that was unexpected. After that, I joined a nonprofit, but a public-private partnership. They had seen, wait, she has done leadership in a nonprofit setting, and she has worked in a private sector consulting firm with Fortune 500 clients. This organization is an amalgamation of both. So that was another pivot, translated those leadership skills. And then on to Georgia Pacific and corporate boards. But that's what I would encourage you to think about. Where can you make an impact, and talk to people to figure out how.
You're giving us the perfect segue, Duriya, and thank you, to networking. I mean, that's a word that I think causes panic in certain people and trepidation. And if any of you have spent time submitting resumes to LinkedIn or job portals, you know how soul-sucking that is. Let's talk about networking and the energy you can get out of that, the opportunities, as Duriya said, to get ideas about jobs you've never heard of. And I'm going to ask Cynthia to talk about networking, how to be an effective networker and not have fear around it. And then maybe, Margot, you can bring us home before we break up.
Okay, I have 2 quick thoughts on it. One is this is not going to be helpful. One is the best networking is done when you don't need it, right? And so for me, networking is about creating community, creating people who are like-minded or want to see you succeed and you want to see them succeed. You surround yourself by those people. The best thing to do is when you have a job is, when people look for a job when you have a job, best way to network when you don't need a network is to throw a party, throw a small gathering. Do something where you surround yourself by the people that you may need in the future. It's like you create a basket of goodwill that you may need in the future, but you create this group of people, this ambiance of people who are there for you in the, when you need them, but you're there for them right now. If this is not you and like you need to get a job tomorrow, what I would do, it's okay. Like you got to start small because people hate networking because it's like you got to ask people for help. So you're starting small, you need to find a job tomorrow. One approach to networking is, okay, go to LinkedIn. This is just about finding the job space that you want to be in, or find, if there's other job networking, job tool, find the job and the title that kind of mimics the place you want to go to next. Take that job description and share it with like 3 or 4 people on the same chat, like on an email, and say, hey guys, I'm starting my next career move. I don't know the landscape. It's been a minute. This job seems to fit me. What have you seen out there that I should be aware of? Can you take a look at my resume? And if I wanted to fit in the space, can you just tell me what's missing? Because what you're doing is, one, you're like, okay, you're starting small, you're putting dipping your toe out there. But one, you're telling people that, yeah, you're looking. 2, you're seeking their expertise. You're not saying, do you have a job? Right. So it's a warm invitation. And then what you want to do is really just open this door and start the conversation. So that's a mini small way of kind of honing it. If you have all the time in the world, like get out there and kind of give. And if you don't, then start small, have it people, and just kind of start using the information that one moment of information, get your some clarity around it, and then ask the next 3 or 4 people.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I'll put a plug in for obviously HKS alums. We are in community. We may not know each other, but if you go to LinkedIn and put in like Harvard Kennedy School, you get a list of people. Use the alumni directory. It's not always up to date, but it's there. And you know, if like I know New York, obviously DC, there are places that have HKS networks in their community, San Francisco, LA. Those are places to find like-minded people and get together with them, invite them, do something. So I'll put my plug in for that. And Margot, take us home so that we can go
Yeah.
break into small groups.
Got
And I
it.
apologize for cutting people off.
No worries. I just want to echo everything that Cynthia said, and I underscore everything she offered, and I would like to offer an additional angle. And so I'll just talk briefly about the Passport Collective, which is a peer advising program for professional women that we run. And while we run this as a paid service, I think that people with hustle and networks can just do this on their own, frankly. So it's all about kind of expanding your perspective and leveraging the contacts that you already have. So what are ways in which you can do that? So we organize and assemble small cohorts of women. They're all from different fields and sectors, which is really important. And these groups are organized around kind of having similar issues, similar challenges, or questions about their work. And they're also more or less at a similar place on their career trajectory. And so these members kind of bring their best practices, their expertise, their problem-solving skills, and their networks to the table. And the purpose of the group is to leverage the collective brain power of the group and their networks in service of the group. So, everybody's working together to address the big challenges and questions that each member has. And again, while this is our bread and butter, as I said, I do think that people can organize these things on their own by kind of assembling and leveraging their own board of directors, their own kitchen cabinet. I see Mary Beaulieu here. Just want to give her a shout out with, when we were at the Kennedy School, there was a version of this called Chess Club, Revive the Chess Club. And there we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. And thank you, coaches. You all had gems there that I hope people are remembering. And then I saw in the chat, make sure if you're a participant, glance through the chat because there are some real gems in the chat as well from some of our coaches and from each other. So introducing Corinna Santangelo, who is an alumni board member and great friend. And she is going to take us home. We're going to do kind of speed round and really get, quick tips, something you learned today. We're going to go to each of the coaches. Go ahead, Corinna.
Hello, everybody. From Mexico City, I'm talking, and I'm really glad to be here surrounded by all of you. I'm really happy to see a lot of new faces, which is wonderful because it means that we are just amplifying this alumni family and community. So we have 14 minutes, just to be very respectful of our time. So I would like to ask our wonderful coaches, and let me tell you guys that these people have just been working and just doing other meetings before this one, just to provide all of their wealth of experience, but also be very focused on what we're trying to do here in such a short time. So guys, if you can share one actionable tip or resource, what would that be? Can we start with Ashley, please?
Yes, thanks so much for that, Corinna. There were so many delicious nuggets in that conversation. The one I want to lift up is this. The most important career asset is the ability to storytell. If you take nothing else from today, the people who advance in their careers, who move sectors, who build powerful networks, are the people who know how to tell a story that positions them as the leader that the moment demands. And so the career is not a sequence of jobs, it is a case study of your impact. And so in order to articulate it, and Mary said this, we have to find our center and own our power. And that has to come through in our conversations, on our LinkedIn profiles, on our resumes. And one tangible way to do that is to write down the through lines of your leadership in about 3 sentences and own that and hold that and lead with that in your networking conversations, lead with that in interviews, lead with that in ways that help you articulate what you're looking for, what you're curious about, and the impact you get to make in the world.
Well, that was great, Ashley. Thank you very much, because I mean, it brings together 2 wonderful things. You know, when Harvard, you know, just sends send what Harvard always looks for is leaders. So I am sure that there are lots of them here. So try to make our story right and simple and to the point. Melissa, would you like to follow?
Yeah, thank you, Karina. So one of the things that we discussed is during times of uncertainty, to really revisit your core values. If you haven't done a values exercise recently, I highly recommend. You can go online, you can Google search. There are different values exercises out there. So that when you're making these decisions, when there's a lot of noise and a lot of options getting thrown at you, you think about these 3 self-reflection questions, which is 1, is this in alignment with my core values? 2, is this option in alignment with my long-term vision for my career and my career goals? And then 3, if my friend were to choose this option, would I recommend that they follow through with that? And partly that's because sometimes when we're so full of emotion and with what's going on, we have a challenging time thinking objectively. So if we step outside of that and look at ourselves as a friend, say, oh, that's a really bad idea, or absolutely, you need to jump on that, that provides a space for us to be more objective. So keep in mind, revisit your values. They change over time. I think a lot of people might be emphasizing certain things right now based on everything that's going on in our community. But just doing that will help you find the focus and be able to put up those bumpers so that you can step forward in a forward-moving direction.
Thank you very much, Melissa. I like what you said about friends. With my groups of friends, with my specific group of friends that I have, we always tell each other, you need to see yourself as we see you. And sometimes when we are in these moments in our lives with lots of, you know, just things to think about, sometimes we're pretty harsh on ourselves. So maybe that's also a very good suggestion. Cynthia.
Okay, I have a simple, and then as you guys are talking, I have another one. But one is if you're tinkering with your resume, you're tinkering with LinkedIn, sometimes it's actually so unhelpful and it's a paralysis. It's almost like an avoidance. If you're just like, if I just got the right font, if I just got the right, like that's not going to get you a job. So what's gonna is literally sending an email to 3 people saying, I need a conversation. And we've already talked about it, but if you are stuck and you're feeling like overwhelmed, talk to 2 or 3 people. Just say, listen, I'm overwhelmed. This is what's happening. And then the next conversation is more comfortable. And then the next one's more comfortable, right? If you've put more than 2 or 3 hours on your resume, just stop, because that's not going to get you the job. Yep. Oh, and the other one, it's really fast. It's very, but LinkedIn, Wix. Try and create a free 1-pager about yourself, right? If like that, you were how to send it out like that is more terrifying, because that you could start from scratch. What would be your bold? What would be the picture you choose? What would be the heading? Like do that exercise, because your resume is a past. If you wanted to show people who you're going in the future, write your future self, make a 1-page, like do that. Don't publish it and then sit on it. Come back a week later and be like, is that me? Or where am I now? Right? You could keep revisiting that. And I would tell you in 3 months, actually publish it, because it's almost, it's like a more floating, more future, more better version of you. That's a thought.
Thanks so much, Cynthia. Margot?
Thanks so much. So we talked about managing career challenges, which we kind of talked about doing so effectively is about like thinking differently, and changing your perspective and being able to see new options and really figuring out ways to get the best, most meaningful feedback possible. In our session, we actually put into practice the peer advising model using Christy, a volunteer in our group. And I really encourage people to think about assembling their own kitchen cabinet, formally, informally, whatever that is, and thinking about people who do work that is different than yours, people who are working in different sectors, in different fields, who are at a similar place in their seniority and the evolution of their career. But these people have their own best practices, their own perspective, their own networks, and being able to sit down with these people individually or in a small group and go through a process where you're sharing a challenge. They have the opportunity to dig in and get context and then provide really meaningful feedback to you, will kind of pull open the aperture of your thinking, and inevitably something new and incredible is going to come from that. And one of the things that I said to our group was that oftentimes the feedback that's given in these settings are valuable to many people in the group, even if they're not the person who's kind of in the hot seat themselves. So think about, assembling and leveraging your kitchen cabinet to get meaningful feedback and learn from them, get their best thinking. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Margot. Duriya?
Yeah, it's great to be with you all. Again, so many nuggets, but I know that networking was a big theme today, and it can be overwhelming. So let me make it very specific in terms of an actionable thing you can do. If you're exploring different sectors or different industries, whether it is, for me at one point, it was VC, it was consulting, it was operations. Pick 3 people that you would love to work with or for in each of those, and go have a conversation with them. That is going to be powerful in ways that you may not be able to see right now. And I would always position those discussions as seeking advice. I think when you ask people that you would love you value their advice and their perspective, I have never seen someone say no. I want to pick your brain or I want to catch up, not as effective, because people want to know that they are giving their time to something that is going to make a difference. And the people you may reach out to may get a lot of those requests. So just think of 3 people in each of the industries, sectors, domains that you are considering, and go have a conversation with them. If it is one industry, I would make a list of 5 people and just go do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Duriya. I think we've come to an end. So I would like to thank you all for being a part of this session, which I think was not only useful but very interesting. I want to thank everybody who participated, who has taken time out of their schedules to be part of this community, and which is, as we know, key, especially at this point in time, not only to have community to help us pivot or find new paths, but also as a safety net. So I would like to just stress that just coming back to the Kennedy School community is always a very good decision. So special thanks to Ashley, Melissa, Cynthia, Margot, and Duriya. You guys been wonderful and extremely generous with your time and your knowledge. I want to also thank the Office of Alumni Relations for always helping us. I want to thank Kathy, who's our leader, and the executive board who just thought about this opportunity. There are lots of other things that are happening at the Kennedy School. I'm going to share a link to all of the events that are coming in the future. And just know and rest assured that the board is not only interested, but very active in supporting our alumni community in moments like this. So we'll keep in touch, and hopefully you'll receive more information. So check those emails that can sent by Karen and her office every week, and hope you had a good time. I don't know if Kathy, you might want to close us up.
I am going to say a few words.
Oh, of course,
Hello,
Karen.
everyone. I'm Karen Bonadio. I'm the Senior Director of Alumni Relations, and on the call today is on the Alumni Relations team, we have Kristen, Hannah, and Allie. And what I did want to share with you all is, you know, we are listening to what's happening in the alumni community. We are responding in real time and as fast as we can to provide support to the alumni, either through the school or through the networks or through the alumni board. And I know just this morning, we sent out an email to those in the development community that CID will be hosting a webinar on Monday, I believe, in the afternoon. And we will make sure when we send our follow-up message that information is in there for anyone affected. So they can, it's just another opportunity to network, to have extra support from the school and from your colleagues and from other classmates here at the Kennedy School. So just thank you for everything that you do. And we're just so appreciative of the coaches today and really of the leadership of the alumni board to make these opportunities happen.
Thank you very much, and hopefully see you guys soon. Thank you.